Let's go around the room and do a quick roll call, please, starting with Joe.
Joe Eichstead, City Engineer.
Paul Vollert, Public Works Superintendent.
Madeline Palmquist, Vice Chairperson, District 8.
Jeff Benskover, Alderman, District 4.
Dennis Pollock, 6th Ward Alderman.
Matt Zacher, Mayor.
Thank you, everyone. It is 5 p.m., so we will call this meeting to order. Our first item of business is to review the Engineering and Street Department monthly activity report. And we can kick it off with Paul, if that's all right.
Sure, thank you. Report is attached. List of activities for the month may be slightly down due to the work group enjoying maybe some time in the woods and things like that, but nonetheless, we still got a lot of work completed. Our last construction project was completed for the year. Pavement was placed by American Asphalt. The black dirt was placed behind the back of curb and in the sidewalk areas. And then the traffic control signs were installed. Left to be completed then is the site restoration in the spring of the year. We've been doing that the last few years just because the seeding that we've done in the fall hasn't made it through the winter plowing and stuff like that very well. So instead of doing the rework, we're just letting it sit. Our maintenance activities was a lot of getting our building and the yard and things like that ready for the winter season and cleaned up from our summer season. So we tend to go through and sort out any cast materials that manholes, catch basins, things like that we've salvaged from projects throughout the year, and put them in our yard, and or if they're not suited, recycling them up at either Shaw's or a different metal recycling yard. We had to do some maintenance activities out at the Rapides Commerce for the Canadian National Railroad. We had some kind of minor things to complete on Lincoln Street. We installed the railing for the fence. The mesh is going to be installed by a vendor here in the weeks to come. We also had some traffic control painted arrows at the intersections that were installed here in the last 2 weeks to help. There was some confusion as to what some of the pavement marking at the intersections meant. So now hopefully with the arrows painted, it'll help take care of the confusion. We go through and review all of our plow routes. The operators go through their plow routes looking for high manholes and or some other situations that may be dangerous or where we may cause damage because of the plows, or the situation may cause damage to us. So go through and review those, try to take care of those before the first snow event. We had a broken force main up on 5th and Spring Street that we had to fix that surprised us, as well as finishing up some paver patches. We've gone through and reviewed our list of sand barrels throughout the city, and maybe reduce some locations that weren't seeing any activity, and then have those out so that they're ready for our first ice event that may happen. Our sign shop, late in the month there last year and first part of November, we hosted, not the city hosted 2 WIA events. So the CVB had requested putting up the WIA banners in the multiple locations. There's now another event that's being advertised at those locations now. These 2 work groups are also responsible for some of the on-street Christmas decorations, so those were installed, as well as assisting the Parks Department in the decorations down in the Veterans Park area along the riverbank. We have completed about 60%, 19 of the locations for the no parking signs. The other ones are waiting on diggers and may end up being something that we don't get completed till the spring due to the ice. Frozen grounds already from the rain, but we'll try to continue to work through that situation. Our shop, again, continue to do traditional maintenance activities. We had some pretty big projects that went from each month, but they finished. If you remember, we had to replace the floor on one of the garbage trucks, so that project got completed. There was also kind of a challenging electrical problem that they were chasing for a few months in the wastewater dump truck, and they got that situation taken care of. Now that our construction projects were completed, they installed the snow wing on our main grader, so everything is ready to go. As well as adding 2 sets of snow tires to the 2 loaders, so everything is ready to go. For the first snow event, that's better than the last 2 that we've had. Just making a note that the, both compost sites in theory are closed for the year. So if you get calls on that, they are closed, but the west side is part of our city pit. So as long as there's not a weather activity, the west side compost site will be open, from 7:30 to 2:30, Monday through Friday, if there's a need. But for the most part, they are closed for the site season, so. With that, that is our report.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions for the street department? Go ahead, Maddie.
This may be a question for Mayor Zacher. With 60% of the signs being up, I'm presuming that there's the removal of the current FAQs for parking that were in various places throughout City Hall. I just want to make sure that our signs match the message we're putting out to the public.
So you're talking on the websites and stuff like that?
We have the website. There are also printouts in various places in the building. And then it would be great to do an announcement of some sort to let the public know that we've changed officially.
We can look into it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to engineering. Go ahead, Joe.
So for the month of November, certainly going into towards the winter season here, definitely a decrease in permits and licenses for the month, as well as Diggers Hotline locates, which is as to be expected. We did complete a crosswalk study at 7th Street and Miller Avenue. That report's included for reference. For the signal projects along the expressway, as of December 2nd, Chase Street has since been reopened. Signals are operational again. Traffic control is pulled. The work isn't entirely complete there yet, but we shouldn't have to impact traffic at that intersection again. High Street, however, the west leg of that intersection is still closed. We did make some slight improvements there. Signals are operational again to allow westbound left turning movements, but the west leg is still closed for the time being. The contractor's waiting on permitting from CN, and there's some delays in some of that activity. So hopefully we'll hear about that soon, and that work will be completed within a day or 2 of having received those permits, and the rest of the work will be completed then. For the design projects, we've made advancements in the design progress for 14th Avenue and Plover Street, as well as the zoo otter plans. That's not on the list, but that was an activity that was worked on. For construction activity, just end-of-year invoicing, payment applications, closing out the projects with as-builting, and final reports. So those activities are wrapping up here in the month of December. There hasn't been any other highlights since our last meeting related to Office Commissioner Railroads and 32nd Street or Kingston Road. All that information has been submitted to them though, so we're just waiting to hear back from them. As far as the bridge lighting project goes, as of November 27th, the bridges were lit. There's additional programming activity that diagnosing and troubleshooting activities that occurred today, and we're tentatively scheduling training for the city staff programming and ongoing show programming for the bridge lighting scheduled for January 9th. With that, that concludes all the highlights for November.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions for engineering? Go ahead, Maddie.
I just have a clarification, because I look back at the bridge lighting bid and what was approved, and then I see what is on the bridge now, and it, we we do have all of the lights that we contracted for. We're just working out how to make them all function in a way that is,
Yes, so there's the three different types of fixtures that were approved, and all those fixtures are installed, and all of them operate. It's just the programming. Each individual LED on each of the fixtures essentially can be controlled separately, and so it's with the computer programming. Just there's internet connectivity to each of those that has been provided to each controller at each bridge, and the configuration of that has yet to be set up. So that's something that is scheduled to occur with the training January 9th. And so by that time, hopefully we can actually advance the training if an opening is found in their schedule sooner. But hopefully all the troubleshooting and everything is cleared up by that time.
so our bridge lighting will get better with time.
Yes.
It'll be
Oh,
even more
yes.
beautiful.
Yep, definitely.
Great, thank you.
Joe, I feel there's some questions since the last time we met about West Grand Avenue and the expressway crossing, and particularly when a train is approaching or crossing, those intersection lights go to flashing red. Is that the intended use for that intersection moving forward? Because previously, north and southbound traffic on the expressway could still pass through.
So like an all red
All,
flash?
all flashing, all ways.
Yeah, and I know that occurred at least twice this week.
Yep.
That's not a normal function. What we know so far is, we've got equipment on order. I guess it's been in the works and it should arrive soon. But, the blank out signs, the signage that says, when the train is at a grade crossing, and there's the signs that say no right turn, no left turn. There's 4 signs that are existing out there, and they're putting a higher than, I guess, allowable voltage load on the controller equipment, and when it hits that sort of limitation there, it's kicking it out, and so it kicks it out to an all red flash. It's a safety parameter. And so the equipment that we're going to take down, those 4 existing, they're old lights, so that they're not LEDs. And we're going to replace 2 of them, put 2 back up that are LEDs, which would bring the voltage demand back within tolerance and allow the controller to function within acceptable limits.
Okay, so right now it's malfunctioning, and that is not the intended use, because I
That's
was
right.
witness to this, I think it was last week, and it was pretty dicey.
Yeah.
We had some city crews over there working at the time as well, and it was not very, it wasn't very welcoming at the time, so,
Sure.
no, that's good to hear. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to item 3, review and consider removing sidewalk on Second Street North between Cherry Street and Poplar Street as part of the road project in 2025. Go ahead, Joe.
So included with with this item, there is an exhibit that shows where the existing sidewalk is currently located along Second Street North. There's a little bit south of Cherry Street on the east side, and then between Cherry Street and Poplar Street on the east side. There is no other connected sidewalk that is, coming off of, say, First Street North, where there is sidewalk continuously. So just in our preparations for the future road project, this is one of the items that we identified that would need council permission to remove or to keep. So I did include the existing ordinance that we have on file for sidewalk. And so typically sidewalk would be installed adjacent to R3, certain zoning properties, business properties, commercial uses, as well as school routes or streets that are classified as an arterial or collector, or streets that are of a certain width and have a certain traffic volume. And so I guess the last one on there, last but not least, is any install sidewalk, basically to complete the rest of the sidewalk if 50% of the sidewalk with any block is pre-existing. So with Second Street, you know, it's adjacent to residential properties. It's not on a school route, not a collector or arterial. Doesn't have pre-existing connectivity with other sidewalk. And so our staff recommendation is to remove that sidewalk as part of the future road project. Of course, the other option is that sidewalk could remain, or if, you know, the committee wishes to install sidewalk further and connect it, that's another option.
Thank you. Any questions for Joe on this? So Joe, the sidewalk installation would be covered under assessments, and that would be no charge to the resident, or are sidewalks, if they were put back in, would that be a charge to the resident?
If we were going to install sidewalk on both sides for the rest of the street, as part of
Putting
the
it,
road,
either replacing what's there or continuing like you had mentioned.
certainly on the replacement, that would be covered without assessments. It would be covered as just part of our Public Works Construction Fund budget. So there wouldn't be any property owner costs associated with that. If it was a new installation, I guess I don't know that offhand. That's a situation we haven't necessarily dealt with individually here with the new, without special assessments in all cases.
Okay. Is there a procedure to notice residents that currently have sidewalk and to give them an opportunity to speak to the removal or the reinstallation?
There is, to some degree, just in our standard notifications. If we know it at the time, when we send out those preliminary resolution letters, or I guess any time thereafter, it could be a separate notice to them that, hey, this is being considered, and they'll give them an opportunity to speak. I always go back to some degree too, that, you know, it's also to what makes sense to the rest of the city, you know, because you're always going to get into the situation where it's a subjective, you know, to any individual property owner, either for or against. Some won't want to snow plow it or snow blow it or shovel it, and others definitely want it because maybe their kids, you know, use it to ride their bike up and down the lot or whatever. So,
I guess that's kind of what I'm referring to, you know, just making sure, you know, those particular residents are aware that either, you know, their sidewalk is going to be removed or not. I understand we have a pretty comprehensive plan about sidewalk, and I understand the criteria, and, you know, just by looking at this, I would be in favor for removal, but I think it would behoove us to let the residents know that would be the case. I guess I just don't know what that looks like.
well, we could, I guess if we want to bring it back next month, we could at least let these property owners with existing sidewalk know that it's being considered for removal.
Yep.
If that's kind of the direction that the committee's headed. I guess if the committee's not interested in removing it, then, you know, maybe we'd go a different route with it.
No, that sounds good to me. Again, you know, it's a numbers and cents thing too. Obviously, it would be a savings if we didn't reinstall, and I just want to make sure the residents know what's happening before it happens. I've heard on numerous occasions that, oh, well, our sidewalk wasn't reinstalled, we didn't know, you know, kind of after the fact stuff. So just want to make sure we're getting ahead of that. Anyone else from committee? Go ahead, Madeline.
I agree with Ryan, and I'm in favor of removing the sidewalk, only because of the cost to replace it, but also the cost to maintain it, if we do decide to replace it. But I am a person on the side of, I would prefer not to have a sidewalk. But I understand that there are residents, maybe it's this block that enjoys the sidewalk that they have and they care for it. So I'm interested to hear if we have any objections from those residents for removing the sidewalk.
Anyone else? So do we need to make formal action then to have you notice the residents, or is that something you can just bring back next month
I
for
can
us?
just bring it back.
Okay, that'd be great. All right, moving on. Item 4, review and consider adding a school zone along Cook Avenue from 100 feet east of Lincoln Street to a point 900 feet east of Lincoln Street. Go ahead, Joe.
So this request is brought forward to me by the school liaison, safety officer, in conjunction with Woodside School administrative staffing that involves, they've already kind of done this as an interim basis as a trial period, but basically rerouting where parents pick up and drop off their kids. And so a lot of the parents, drive the kids themselves and pick them up individually rather than busing. And so the situation that we had, typically they were operating off of the entrance off of 2 Mile Avenue, and the queuing of the vehicles would stretch back, and sometimes, in some instances, would spill out onto 8th Street. And it would obviously create a safety issue there. So in 2023, there was some efforts involving Public Works and Engineering Department, and from the Engineering Department, we had put together some recommendations. I did include that for reference in the packet. The trial period or the trial option, or what they've been implementing here on an interim basis, is routing vehicles along Lincoln Street, as shown in the image here on the referral document, up to Cook Avenue, and then utilizing their north entrance to Woodside School. And they've seen a lot of success with that, so much so that they're asking to kind of formalize it with a school zone and official signage along Cook Avenue. And so that's what this item really does, is formalize that in Chapter 340, traffic, and provides a school zone with a 20 mile per hour speed limit. And of course, engineering would be recommending, or in agreement that a school zone would be appropriate given their current operations there.
Thank you, Joe. Questions, comments by committee or anyone else?
I guess I would be all for this. How do we get this moving? Make a motion, or?
Yep.
I would make that motion to add a school zone along Cook Avenue from 100 feet east of Lincoln to a point 900 feet east of Lincoln Street.
That should cover it. I'll
Second.
second. I think Maddie got it. Any further discussion?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thanks to Joe, engineering team. I really like the way that this worked out, working with the school to figure out a different way to test to see if it worked before coming back and changing the rules and making different signs. Great work.
Agreed. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to vote. All in favor, respond with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 5 is to review the referral list. So we have some long-standing ones towards the top, some recent additions. Request from Alderperson Delaney to discuss and consider garbage and recycling services for mobile home parks. I know, Paul, we had discussed maybe having a little pre-chat about this, so That one was probably coming up here in the near future. And then Dale Street. Was there anything further on Dale Street? I know, Jeff, you were thinking about going out there.
I did go out there. We were there, I would say about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. To me, it's a doable situation. There's adequate parking. The people at Steve's Plumbing have to walk maybe a block to get to their place of employment. The N&N guys do need visibility for their vehicles. I would recommend keeping it the way it is right now. It is not the best situation out there, but it is doable, it's workable.
I would agree. I think we can strike item 12 then. Anything to add to the referral list?
I do have one
Go ahead.
for January or as soon as possible. The 2025, setting the 2025 degradation fees for street excavation permits.
Okay. All right. Referral list has been reviewed. Set the next meeting date. We have, I think it would be the 9th. Is that accurate? Yep. 9th at 5. Council chambers are open. Everybody's good with that? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I would second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor, respond with aye. All right. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, everyone.